Good morning, and welcome to the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. I'm so glad you joined us today. Well, we have kind of an empty room in front of us, except for those beloved helpers with our audio and visual, and this amazing group of musicians here. It's November 1st. We're kind of singing to ourselves. But we're honoring the safety and being responsible. And I appreciate you tuning in to join us today. I can't believe it's already November 1st. I just can't believe where to go. Look forward to an awesome month. I'm affirming that. It's still beautiful fall weather here in Salt Lake City. Joining us today in our band, we have Mary Danzig, who will also bring us some special music later on, but she was so gracious to accept some music just a couple days ago. For those of you tuning in to try to find our scheduled special music, Mel Soul unfortunately got the COVID virus, and she opted to stay away. I really appreciate that decision. So let's know wellness and wholeness and just right, all divine right for her. She's scheduled for this coming January, so we'll get her here. I just know she'll recover just beautifully. We're going to sing this whole month, this opening song, Top of the World, an old 70s Carpenters tune. This is just so fun and joyful, and I invite you to sing along with us, Top of the World. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Such a feeling's coming over me. There is wonder in most everything I see. Not a cloud in the sky, got the sun in my eyes, and I won't be surprised if it's a dream. Everything I want the world to be is now coming true, especially for me. And the reason is clear, it's because love is here. It's the nearest thing to heaven that I've seen. I'm on the top of the world looking down on creation, and the only explanation I can find, it's the joy that I found within me and all around. This love's put me at the top of the world. Something in the wind has learned my name, and it's telling me that things are not the same. In the leaves on the trees and the touch of the breeze, there's a pleasing sense of happiness for me. There is only one wish on my mind. When this day is through, I hope that I will find that tomorrow will be just the same for you and me. Everything's so fine 'cause love is here. I'm on the top of the world looking down on creation, and the only explanation I can find, it's the joy that I found within me and all around. This love's put me at the top of the world. I'm on the top of the world looking down on creation, and the only explanation I can find, it's the joy that I found within me and all around. This love's put me at the top of the world.
Good morning. We are so happy that you've joined us at the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Linda Brewer, and we are a spiritual community where in this moment in time, all of you are welcome to join us by Love Stream. And we look forward for the day you can be back here with us. I know it's very disappointing that we've had to close the doors to attendance again, but I'm so very grateful for everyone for staying home and keeping all these folks safe up here, so that they'll continue to be here to do this for us every Sunday morning. Our practitioner holding high watch from home this morning is Teresa Martin. Throughout the service, she will be in prayer, knowing that the best and highest is unfolding as we share this sacred time together. Our prayer practitioner this morning up here is Selena Baugh. Our center is a spiritual community that teaches a philosophy for daily living based on spiritual principles and practices that are universal among religions. We honor every pathway by which people seek to know and connect with the divine, and we work on our individual consciousness so that we can help make the world a better place. So if you will, from wherever you are, I invite you to affirm together with me our purpose statement. We are an open, welcoming community, celebrating our divinity, loving our humanity, and nurturing our journeys of spiritual discovery. Thank you. Given how rapidly things are changing, we do encourage all of you to regularly visit our website, where the minute we get something new, we post that information about what's happening here in the center. So the minute the board made the decision to close down today, that went up on the website. And so if you could check there, it's a little easier to update that than to send a newsletter out to all of you, though we're doing that also. Also, if you've just discovered us online, our website is a great place to learn more about who we are. So either way, please visit that regularly, www.spirituallyfree.org. You can submit a prayer request there on our homepage, and you can find out what's coming up next Sunday. There's other places on the site. You can read the latest announcements about what's happening. We include some events happening in the community that may be of interest to you, some things we don't have time to talk about here, so please take time to look at that. Our theme this month is living as compassionate conduits, and I will be your speaker this morning. My topic is divine authority to choose. Next week, Cameron Carver will be back to share another one of his great talks with us, so I know we're all looking forward to that. If it's not on the home page, it's on the announcements page, and you can find a link to that on the home page, and it looks just like that right now, so check that out. And now that we've had to close down in-person services, I hope that more of you will check out our Zoom chat that happens at 1 o'clock each Sunday following the service. This is a great chance to visit with and interact with others from the community, all from the comfort and safety of your home. So if you haven't done that before, please check that out today at 1 o'clock. And I remind you that early voting has ended here in Utah, but you can still drop off that ballot for every registered voter here in Utah. So if you've got it mailed to you. All right. Where was I? Oh, yeah, voting. This. You still have time to vote in person on Election Day. Early voting has ended, and you can vote. You can even register here in Utah on Election Day. All you need is 2 forms of ID, and go to any of the polling places, and you can register. And if you want to find out where to do that, where the official ballot drop boxes, please do not mail your ballot at this point. It will not get there. So the ballot drop boxes are great, and you can find all the information about that. If you want to be more educated about what you're voting about, same place, go to vote.utah.gov, and we've got that link on our website. The Board of Trustees, as you know, had scheduled our postponed annual meeting as a combination in-person live stream event after the service on November 15th. We're going to need to stay tuned to see whether things drastically change here and whether we're still able to have people here for it, or whether we need to make that an online event. So please, again, check the website. And as I do each time I'm here, I reminded you that our center was founded on and is grounded in prayer. Our professional prayer practitioners are trained in the art and the science of affirmative prayer and are so very ready to pray with you around any challenges you may be facing in your life. Please allow us to know the truth for you. So submit your prayer requests, and all of us will be praying all week for you. And if you'd like to have a practitioner pray with you in person, please just say that in your prayer request, and we will have somebody give you a call so they can do it with you in person. So right now I invite you to settle in, allow Selena's reading and the beautiful centering music to take you within as we prepare for Selena to lead us in prayer.
Good morning. Our reading this morning is excerpts from Sacred Thinking, Awakening to Your Inner Power by Jim Lockhart. The inability to make decisions indicates that you have not accepted yourself as an independent individual. That's a quote by Raymond Charles Barker. If you are free, then you can make choices. Inner freedom exists as an aspect of your humanness, even if at the outer level your freedom seems restricted. In reality, you are always at choice, always free to decide what you think and what you feel. If you do not think that this is so, it is because you have made choices during your life that led you to develop and hold such a belief. As long as you believe something that is false, you are bound by that belief. Belief is the key. My choices become limited to the degree that I come to believe in limitation. Spirit can only know me as I know myself. It does not exist as a separate personality. A rough analogy would be that spirit knows you the way that you know an individual cell in your body. You are aware of your body as a whole, generically, but are not directly aware of the individual cells. Consistent with this analogy, science is now suggesting that one's state of mind directly impacts the cells in one's body. Your ability to choose rests with what you come to believe about yourself, your relationship to spirit, and your relationship to the world. If you believe in limitation, you are enslaved. Believe, or at least be willing to believe, in infinite possibilities, and you are free. You always hold the key to your freedom. This freedom brings the ability to choose another possibility.
I will make a quiet place, a quiet place within my heart, and I will open to my God, open to my God. Quiet place, a quiet place within my mind, and I will open to my God, open to my God. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still and know my God.
So it's from this open place within my mind and my heart that I recognize that one presence, that one power that moves in and through all of life, expressing as divine right action love, compassion, joy, and love. And recognizing these attributes of that divine presence, I know that I am part and parcel of that one. Just as I know that truth for each person here this morning and all of creation. There is no this or that. It is one. We are all one with that divine presence. Every cell of our beings, every breath that we take. Therefore, as we open and acknowledge this truth, all those attributes of the one flow from us into expression. We move with divine right action and compassion. We bring joy and experience joy in all that we do. The way is made clear, and we recognize it and step forth in our strength and in our power, no matter the outer circumstances. That has nothing to do with us. We just embody this truth of who we are. We recognize that truth about each person that we meet, and we celebrate it. We enjoy it. I know that this service will uplift, inform, and fill us this day. So I'm grateful for this time together this morning. I'm grateful for this teaching and for each person that makes this possible this day. This word's spoken, therefore it's done. As together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Selena.
Thank you.
As we nurture gratitude within us, it helps us build the compassion. It will come naturally. Obviously, it improves our outlook, and that outlook becomes a wonderful seed into the universe that is creative and makes the world a bright and beautiful place. This month, we're going to tie the ideas of compassion and gratitude together. It creates a vision. Anticipating gratitude is really a wonderful creative tool. This song that we'll sing together is by Matisyahu. It's called One Day. It is a beautiful vision, and it's filled with compassion. One day, please sing along with us. One, two, one, two.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce our special music today. And I want to give my special thanks to Mary Danzig, who I got a hold of on Friday because we had a cancellation, and she stepped up. She said yes, a big enthusiastic yes, and I'm so grateful. This local musician and teacher is a fabulous presence and just a wonderful musician, so sensitive with her instrument, her voice, and her violin. Let's welcome back the beloved Mary Danzig.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I was really happy to receive Rick's email because this is such a gracious group of people and such a talented band on top of it. But it, I think about the topic as gratitude, and I think, well, then I should be there because I feel grateful to play here. So, as I was thinking about what I might like to play, I thought about one of the things that's made me grateful over these last several months. It's the isolation is hard for so many different reasons, and not being able to see people as much as we'd like, it's difficult. But one thing that has brought me a lot of solace is going outside and seeing nature around me. And it reminds me that life goes on and that we will go on and that things will be okay. And this waltz I would like to play is called the Ukpik waltz. And it's actually, so Ukpik is Inuit for snowy owl. And I think of, beautiful birds and all the creatures of nature. I feel so much gratitude for them. So this is the Ukpik waltz.
Wow, thank you, Mary. That is just so gorgeous. All right, I'm trusting you guys can hear me because I can't hear me. Hoping all you out there. All right, so one of the reasons that I keep allowing myself to be talked into doing this thing here is that it forces me to study in a way that I confess I'm not always motivated to do on my own. It's kind of like taking a class where the homework assignments impose a certain amount of discipline that you may not follow when you're not taking a class. I grew up in a family with a dad who loved learning. The man literally read the encyclopedia for fun. And anytime I asked a question about something or asked how to spell a word, I was told to look it up in the encyclopedia or look it up in the dictionary and then to share what I learned with my dad. I think that was because he wanted to be sure I did it. When the week began, I started doing some research preparing for this task, pulling books I thought might be relevant off my shelves, reading parts of those books and taking notes. I had promised myself that on Wednesday I would sit down and start writing. But inspiration had not started to flow, and I kept letting emails and text messages interrupt me. I was feeling, in fact, very put upon that the world had not come to a halt because of my perceived need to focus. My reactions to quite normal requests seemed way out of whack for me, and after snapping at a beloved friend on the phone, I finally stopped to meditate and figure out why was I so out of sorts. And in that, I realized that it was the 37th anniversary of my father's death, and that I had not been honoring his memory and the wisdom that he modeled for me because I hadn't started my work on this talk at the beginning. So I'm dedicating this talk to my dad's memory, and maybe someday I'll tell you a lot more about him because his life was really an inspiration. But back to this talk. After realizing what was going on, I did what Daddy would have wanted me to do. I started looking up the definitions of the major words in our theme for the month and in my topic for today. Now, I had assumed I knew, what those words meant, but what I know about words is that many of them have a meaning for one person that is very different than the meaning that word has for another person. And I think that's part of why we have so much division in our world today, why we keep talking past each other, because we are not defining words the same. And since choosing is part of what we're talking about today, I wanted to be sure that I consciously chose the definitions of what I'm saying and that I communicate those to you so we could all be on the same page with our understanding. Besides, Reverend Donald always says, your definitions are your law, your Lord. So you better know what your definitions are. So our theme this month is living as compassionate conduits. And I chose to start defining words right at the beginning with the word living. Right away, I found a definition that I'm guessing matches what most people think living means, which is the condition of being alive. Having spent 15 years as a healthcare chaplain working with the sick and dying, I'm well aware that the medical definition of being alive means breathing and having a pulse. But I'm also well aware, especially from my work as a chaplain, that just having a pulse and breath is not living for some people. So I moved on to the second definition of living, which said that living is a manner of life. And then, having deeply committed to my path, I looked up manner. And I chose the definition sort or kind, as in, what manner of talk is this? What kind of talk is this? With that, I had the definition of living that I'm referring to today. Living is the manner or kind of life we live based on how we choose to define what constitutes a meaningful or quality life. Now, the obvious definition of compassionate is having or showing compassion. But when we get to defining compassion, it gets a lot more complex. Whole books have been written on the topic. So here are a few definitions that reflect how I'm defining and using the word today. Compassion means sympathetic consciousness of others' distress, together with a desire to alleviate the distress. A feeling of sympathy for others that makes you want to help them. To feel deeply for another person as they experience the ups and downs associated with life, but also to show them that you care by being there. Now, a conduit is a channel through which something is conveyed, a means of transmitting or distributing something. The dictionary goes on to say that in a spiritual discourse, a conduit is something or someone that allows a person to connect with the spiritual realm, or vice versa, allows the spiritual realm to connect with a person. We might think of a medium. So if we put all those definitions together, then living as compassionate conduits means choosing a kind of life that through our willingness to recognize, feel, and alleviate the distress of others helps connect them to the divine that lives within them. I think in this theme, Home Office has called us to embrace the theology of science of mind, not just its philosophy. I remind you that in my last talk, I defined those words. I shared that a philosophy is personal and concerned with self-interest, while a theology is concerned with the relationships to the divine with its creation, with humanity, and the relationships that each of us have with each other. For those committed to living the teachings of science of mind, this month's theme seems to have defined a meaningful life as a life that offers itself to be lived in such a way that through our example of compassionate caring about the needs of others as equal to our own, we become channels through which others might experience the reality of the existence of the divine. We are called to live as compassionate conduits in part, so that others might recognize the truth of their own oneness with the divine. We, of course, get to decide if that works for us, if that is a life we want to live, if that in fact constitutes a meaningful life for us, if we are interested in living the theology of science of mind, or if we prefer to just live its philosophy. Which brings us to our topic for today, our divine authority to choose. We are each free to decide how we want to live our lives and how we want to use the science of mind in our lives. The definition of divine is of relating to or proceeding directly from God. As individuated expressions of the one, our authority to choose comes from that oneness. And it is true for everyone, regardless of whether or not they are aware of their oneness. Because everyone is part of the one. There are no exceptions, despite some appearances to the contrary. Authority is defined as the power to influence or command thought, opinion, or behavior, or the freedom granted by one in authority. The divine has granted each of us the freedom to choose our own thoughts, opinions, and behaviors. Inherent in that freedom is the responsibility to accept the consequences of what we choose to think and do, including how those things impact and influence others. We are called to recognize that we do not live in a vacuum. So if you don't share my dad's passion, I'm sure you're grateful to hear that we've reached our last definition, the definition of choose. There were two definitions I think we need to hear. The first is to select freely and after consideration. And the second is to have a preference for. I think our lower nature may tend toward following the second definition, just doing what we have a preference for. But our higher self makes choices freely while still considering the consequences of each choice. I call that wisdom. For example, when deciding what to eat at any given moment, do I just go after my preference, or do I choose freely after I've considered the consequences of each of the options? I've lived my life both ways, and I definitely look and feel better when I don't just go with my preferences, but consider all the consequences while still choosing freely what I eat. Science of Mind teaches us that choice is the essential point of power of the individual. Choice is our essential point of power. By choosing how to think and what to do from wisdom and compassion, we more fully move into the magnificence of our divine inheritance. No belief is developed and no action is ever taken without choice. But the question is whether we choose consciously or unconsciously. Only if we choose out of our conscious awakening are we directing our lives from our authentic higher selves. No one in this world is exempt from being an expression of the divine, from having the whole power of the universe behind each and every choice we make. The law always works. Unfortunately, that is equally true whether we choose consciously or unconsciously. You may have already realized that when I talked about what's happening on Wednesday, what I was largely describing was working on this talk from an unconscious place. Obviously, I had consciously agreed to do the talk, and I had consciously set aside most of the week to work on it. But when I got up Wednesday morning, not having slept well, my consciousness was nowhere to be found. I robotically moved into reacting to everything that nudged me for attention. And as the universe attempted to show me what was going on, I got tons of emails and text messages that I just had to respond to. It took my being unkind to someone I love to wake me up and send me inside to figure out what was going on with me. And then to decide to stop pushing the river, to allow myself to just grieve my dad, to remind myself of the blessings he brought into my life, and to bask in all the wonderful things he taught me by his example about how to live a life of kindness and wisdom and compassion. I gave up on working on the talk, apologized to my friend, reached out to another friend who's facing some challenges, and reminded myself that I am no longer in the life and death business. Not everything that is important is as urgent as it was when I was in hospital ministry. I finally remembered that spending time trying to prepare a talk that is supposed to somehow inspire others was not going to come from a place of being so off-center myself. So I stopped and did some self-care. The next morning, I checked my phone and email for anything truly urgent, then turned both of them off. Spent some time in meditation and prayer, and from that centered place, went back to work. And the talk flowed. Regardless of whether you like what I'm saying or not, I promise you that it came from a place of being connected with Spirit. And that's the best I think any of us can do. I believe that we're called to make every choice from both wisdom and compassion. How do we do that? How can we make choices that incorporate both the wisdom of the divine and compassion for our fellow humans? We do it by slowing down, by intentionally cultivating these qualities within ourselves, by working on them consciously and often so that we learn to express them habitually and intentionally. The goal is to bring forth what is already within us, to awaken the innate power of love and wisdom by focusing our minds on wise and compassionate choices. And how do we do that? We do it like we do anything else we aspire to do in our lives. We find small ways to practice consistently so that we begin to develop those muscles. Then, when something larger comes into our life, we've developed the skills and the habits we need to make good choices. And we grant ourselves some grace when we forget. I invite all of you right now to ask yourself, where is a place in my life that I might practice using wisdom and compassion as the source of my choices? Pick something that will stretch you a bit beyond normal, but that won't completely overwhelm you. Baby steps. So if you've known me for any period of time, and probably even if you've just known me from hearing me speak here, you've probably heard me confess that I feel farthest from God when I'm driving my car. Most of the time, I am pretty sure that everyone has been placed on the road where I have to encounter them for the sole purpose of annoying me. I learned to drive in Germany, and I don't know if it's still true, but at that time, on the Autobahn, which is the equivalent of our freeways, there was no speed limit. And I learned to drive in my dad's MG convertible. Any of you out there who have teenagers just reaching the driving age, I promise you that letting them learn on what is basically a racetrack is not a wise move. Those things stick with you. While I do drive with great attention to what is around me and in front of me down the road, I do like to move quickly on that road, no matter what road I'm on. And I resent people who keep me from doing that. So I decided that driving is a wonderful place for me to practice making choices from wisdom and compassion. You'll have to figure out your own place to practice based on where you get triggered in life. I was so incredibly surprised, and thank you, Rob, that 2 weeks ago when Rob spoke, after his amazing talk on forgiveness, I found myself feeling calm as I was running errands and driving home. I was not in a hurry, and I wasn't upset with anyone else on the road. That never happens for me. Or, let me affirm that in the past, that didn't happen for me. So because of that history, I decided that driving is a wonderful place for me to practice wisdom and compassion. The wisdom of not exceeding the speed limit, and the compassion of believing that everyone else is doing the best they can while they're driving. The truth is that I don't know why they're doing what they're doing, but it almost certainly is not just to annoy me. They don't even know me. I'm pretty sure I'm not the center of their universe. So I can practice choosing with compassion by making up new stories about the others on the road instead of that they got into their cars and drove to where I am just to get in my way. Although, no. I actually practiced this on the way over here today, and it was really cool. So here's my thought. These are the kinds of things I'm starting to tell myself. Maybe they're speeding because they just got word that their child was injured. Or they're going 10 miles an hour below the speed limit because they're scared. Their spouse normally does all the driving, but their spouse is in the hospital fighting for their life. Or maybe they just cut me off in traffic trying to exit across 3 lanes because they don't have a GPS telling them where to go, and they miss the signs, and they're not familiar with where they are, and if they don't get off on this exit right now, they won't know where they are, and they need to be somewhere. Or maybe they're not paying attention to what they're doing because they're trying to figure out how to deal with the embarrassment of needing to go to the food bank for the first time in their lives in order to feed their family because they just found out that the job they lost to COVID is not coming back. It feels so much better, I can attest because I did it on the way here this morning. To act from wisdom and compassion. Because in truth, when we fail to practice wisdom and compassion, we share in whatever suffering may arise from our failure. Yes, I'm guessing my friend felt badly when I was so impatient with her. But she was also forgiving, and knowing her, she's let it go, while I still feel badly for being a jerk. When I'm driving with the story that everyone is out to annoy me, I'm the one living without annoyance. No one else on the road is bothered but me. One of the things that is really important to remember is that while it serves the world for us to act with kindness and wisdom and compassion, it also really serves us. That's why the theology of science of mind is such an important part of the teaching. We're all in this thing called life together. Like that great song you guys sang today. As we recognize and own our spiritual identity as unique expressions of the divine, we can cultivate within ourselves the awareness that our choices influence all that exists. If at the same time we repeatedly practice considering all that exists with real compassion, then all that exists will also influence our choices. Our freedom and our enlightenment are connected to everyone else. Our choices contribute to the collective consciousness. And our world really needs us all to get back to making wise and compassionate choices. I want to share a paraphrased version of a warning that Ernest Holmes gave us on page 410 of the textbook. When we live in obedience to the divine power with which we are one, we shall be able to consciously direct the lesser conditions that are all around us. Adam was permitted to name all the creatures, and humanity was supposed to exercise authority over all that is below. This means our whole physical environment. But this power was abused, and the experience of lack, sickness, and limitation fell upon humanity. I don't think any of us can look at what's been going on in our world in recent decades and not recognize the truth in what Holmes said. Humanity has abused the power that is ours by our divine authority to choose, and the entire world is suffering as a result. Our global heart vision calls us to commit ourselves to use the divine authority we have been granted to help create a world that works for everyone. That requires us to make our choices from a conscious place of wisdom, compassion, kindness, and love, with an eye toward the greater good for all with whom we share this world. As we prepare to be in prayer together today, I remind you that in just 2 days, our divine authority to choose our leaders for this election cycle will draw to a close. If you haven't already done so, please vote. And I urge all of us today to agree that regardless of the outcome of this election, we will use our divine authority to choose for the collective good, to work toward a world that works for everyone, not just us and our tribe, whatever tribe we may belong to. Holmes said that the tendency of the inner thought sets the tendency of the outer life. So let's commit ourselves today to do the inner work necessary so that we might use our divine authority to choose, to live as compassionate conduits, finding small ways to practice making loving choices that strengthen those muscles so that when faced with bigger issues, we've developed the consciousness needed to choose wisely and with compassion. As my favorite author, Richard Rohr, says, the only path forward for the survival of our species and perhaps even our planet, is a path of nonviolence, of contemplation and action, prioritizing justice and solidarity, an affirmation of oneness and the interconnectedness of all things which science confirms and spirituality has always known at its deepest level. May we recognize that we are all in this together, and in the long run, unless everyone wins, we all lose. I choose to believe we can win. Let's pray. And so in this holy moment, recognizing the creative intelligence, the divine love, that through its intention created this world and gave us dominion over it with the power of our authority to choose. As we share this prayer, we recognize that each and every one of us and all that is part of that divine whole, part of the one. And that we are given the power to create our world through our choices. And so today, I am knowing that we each find ways to practice in small ways how to make wise and compassionate choices, so that when we are faced with the larger issues of this world, which is in such chaos right now, that we have the strength and the knowledge and the will to choose wisely and compassionately, to live our lives as conduits of the divine, that by the life that we live, we are reminding others of the truth of who they are. That God lives in them and expresses through them as surely as it does through each one of us. I'm knowing for us today that we begin to choose more wisely than perhaps we have been doing. And that as our collective consciousness is rising from the choices we individually make, that we are part of creating a world that works for everyone. And so in gratitude that the law does the work based on our choices, I just allow these words to be and release them, knowing they are done, as together we say, and so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I give. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so
We are so blessed. So now this is our time of conscious giving, which is one of our spiritual practices, something that we do for our own spiritual health and well-being. We recognize the blessings that have come to us as part of the divine flow, and in gratitude we keep that flow going by sharing what we have with our spiritual center so that it might continue to bless us and remind us of the truth of who we are. We know that some of you are having financial challenges, so please know that if that is not the case, that your giving will mean so much more. And I'm going to tell you the truth. We need a few more people to step up to keep us going. So I invite you to please consider that in your prayers. So right now, I want you to bring your thoughts of giving and your thought of the divine flow working through you into your mind and into your hand and into your heart. And let's say together our offering blessing. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Filled with gratitude, I let this be, and so it is.
All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. I've been set free, I'm released. I've been set free, I'm released. The burden of my past has gone away at last. I've been set free, I'm released. All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me.
Now we'll hear some more from Mary Danzig.
Well, I was thinking about the gratitude I have for the great musicians who have come before me and the beautiful melodies and beautiful rhythms that they left behind that can still inspire and cheer me and others today. So I want to play a movement by from one of Bach's unaccompanied partitas. This is a jig from his partita number 2. And I have many times in my life been so grateful that he wrote some beautiful pieces that were just meant for just violin. Because sometimes all you got around to play music with is yourself. So it's nice to have some music that was intended just for that purpose. So this is a jig. It's based on a dance, and I think it for me it's always filled me with joy to have a chance to play this beautiful music.
Thank you.
Holy smokes. That was awesome, Mary.
Thank you.
What a blessed day. Thank you for joining us. And Linda, I think the trigger I need to work on is the Facebook triggers. Yeah, I have some work to do there. Thanks for that wonderful message. We are so blessed. I hope you enjoy your week. As it's been said many times from this platform, please vote. Get out there and do your part. Participate in this wonderful, wonderful country's processes for change and the glorious potential that we are moving toward, making the world a better place for all of us. We're going to sing together our closing song for this month by dear old Satchmo. What a wonderful world. I know you all know the tune. I'm just going to envision you singing that. Don't forget our live chat. Join Reverend Myrna. It's at 1 o'clock. There's a link right there on the Facebook page or on the website. Stay connected. Blessings to all of you. Health and love. What a wonderful world. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know when I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends to